got to run as fast as we can run, you know. We've got to be there at the end. That's the important thing, you know.
Any bother with the fact you got DC behind you after the kind of spat that's been going on?
No, DC's, you know, he's one of the more sensible drivers out there, so I don't think that's an issue.
Best of luck, thanks.
There you are, then putting the lie to his own publicity. Nick's still busy out there. He's now caught up with EJ.
Eddie Jordan, you're chatting there with Taku and his team. First of all, were you happy to say this with the outcome of the FIA and the stewards' inquiry regarding the incident with Raikkonen?
Well, you're never happy when you have that kind of damage, but you know, it's really not for a team principal to make open comments about that. It's a matter between, I suppose, Ron and myself behind closed doors. But the drivers need to sort it out themselves. It is a driver matter, nevertheless. You know, if a driver does something that he shouldn't do, then they should talk about it themselves without getting overboard about it. So the outcome is a matter for the judges, and obviously I have no control.
You said yourself that Taku's had a bit of a difficult time recently. What are you hoping to see from him today?
Well, I've just had a word with him. I said, look, it's so difficult now with you know, the talent that there is in Formula One, and he is such a young up-and-coming driver. He doesn't need to prove to anyone. He needs to be relaxed. He needs to get a really strong rhythm going very quickly on, nice and control with the car, and push hard and push really hard, and he will find the places will fall into his lap. You know, don't need to prove to us how good he is. We know how good he is. Just nice and calm, bring the car home. That's the best I can do in the circumstances, but it is all down to the driver.
Hope he does bring it home. Thanks, Eddie.
Interesting announcements being made that perhaps Bernie actually investing in Ferrari as well. That's been discussed in the media over the last week or so. Let's just confirm the grid once more. Montoya on pole position. Michael Schumacher alongside him on that front row of the grid. Then it's Williams and Ferrari on the second row of the grid, as well as Ralph Heads, Rubens Barrichello. Eddie Irvine and Kimi Raikkonen make up the third row of the grid. Jaguar looking to try and score points for only the third time this season, following Spa and Australia. The fourth row, David Coulthard and Pedro de la Rosa. The fifth row, Jacques Villeneuve and Mika Salo in the Toyota. The sixth row, an all-Italian affair, Jarno Trulli in the Renault, Giancarlo Fisichella in the Jordan Honda. On the seventh row, Alan McNish, joined by Felipe Massa. Watch out for Massa in the early laps in particular. Nick Heidfeld, his teammate, is close behind, as is Olivier Panis. Jenson Button and Takuma Sato on the ninth row of the grid together. And the two Minardis on the 10th row, Mark Webber and Alex Young, looking for that Asia-Tech reliability to serve them well and provide them with a race finish at the end of it all. Minardi's perhaps most famous moment at Monza some years ago now, when Christian Fittipaldi and Pierluigi Martini were battling over 7th place, and poor old Fittipaldi did a backwards flip as he came across the line, luckily to land up on facing the right way up, but it was a very dramatic ending to the Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's a very scary one too. Christian Fittipaldi, I think, got a major fright. We got a major fright in the commentary booth, because even at that part of circuit they were still doing the thin end of 190 miles an hour, and anything at that speed becomes a very major incident, and it was quite close to the pit wall, and I think people on the pit wall, it was over before it actually happened in a sense. But it's one of those areas where you've got very high speeds at a circuit like Monza when things happen, as it happened yesterday between Kimi Raikkonen and Takuma Sato. Happened very quickly. But looking down at Pablo Montoya, those are brand new shiny set of tyres, no stickers on them, but they are brand new, and we know that David Coulthard is going to be doing a similar thing at McLaren.
Yes, and that's interesting, because often the Michelin runners use a scrubbed set of tyres, a brand new set for the Bridgestones on the Ferrari. That's no great surprise, that's a standard procedure, and everybody wants to capture this moment as we prepare for this 15th round of the FIA Formula One World Championship to get underway. And Montoya and Michael Schumacher will battle in the early laps to try and assert their initial authority on this very important race. The championship may be settled, but the honour at stake here of one of the more important victories, the win at Monza and the Italian Grand Prix. The 20 cars on the grid for the Italian Grand Prix set off on the formation lap. A cloud of smoke. We've got someone with a problem. It's one of the Renaults, John, and it has not got away on this formation lap.
And that is a big problem, but he's now moving and in fact, he's going to have to start at the back of the grid.
It is Jarno Trulli.
Indeed it is. So Renault already in difficulties. Trulli was going to start on the 6th row of the grid, an 11th slot, and now he's going to have to slot in behind. He might be able to, if he can, work his way through, but it's going to be quite difficult. He won't be able to do very much until he gets onto that final straight that leads down to the Parabolica. So let's watch and see. If we see Trulli make that move, it will be because the regulations do permit it. But it depends just at what point. He got away pretty much after the entire field did leave. So I think he might just about sneak it and squeak it back onto his 6th row of the grid starting position.
Yes, I think, well, the trouble was, I think he got going after everybody else had gone. I think if some had gone and not all, he would be all right. But I think we'll find that he will have to start at the back, unfortunately, and that's a great disappointment for the Italian. Meanwhile, the leaders coming through up towards the Ascari chicane. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, celebrating his best qualifying performance to date for the team. Can they convert that now into a good race finish? Luca Badoer, one of the test drivers at Ferrari, the man who spends hour upon hour trying to improve the performance of that Ferrari, if it can be improved. It's been so dominant this year. Let's see what the Ferraris can do this time.
And in fact, earlier in the day, he was explaining how much work he and Luciano Berti do. They're virtually in a Grand Prix car every day of the week, 50 weeks of the year.
So the battle between Ferrari and Williams, all set to go. And there, Norbert Howe, one of the senior members of the Mercedes group and in charge of the race operations, will be hoping that their two cars, starting on the 3rd row, will do something special.
Just watching the two Schumacher brothers light up the rear of their cars respectively, just a little flip of blue smoke coming off the Ferrari and the Williams BMW as they make this final run down there. We see Jarno Trulli, he is at the back of the field, and in fact that is where he will have to start this Grand Prix. Juan Pablo Montoya makes his way up, and again the Ferraris just letting blue smoke come off the tyres. Remember, they did go on this parade lap on brand new tyres. They need to get that skin off the tyres, that sealant that just causes the gleam on the tread surface. Should be gone now. They just want to make sure it is.
It is absolutely beautiful in Monza today for the start of the Grand Prix. Blue sky above, the temperatures climbing but not too hot. Montoya and Michael Schumacher sharing the front row. Ralf Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello starting right behind them. And then Eddie Irvine starting in 5th place in the Jaguar, just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren. The remaining cars on this 20-car grid now moving into position. And in just a few moments, 53 laps will get underway. Jarno Trulli starting at the back as expected. Some 80 years after the first ever Grand Prix was held at Monza back in 1922, we are all set for the action to get underway once again at the Royal Park. And it is Juan Pablo Montoya getting away slowly. Ralf Schumacher makes a great start from the 2nd row. Ralf Schumacher gets round the outside of Michael Schumacher and even might get into front of Montoya into the chicane. Side by side, the two Williams drivers still side by side. Oh, don't take each other off, boys. Ralf goes across the curb, and that could cause him a penalty.
Yes, he'll get a drive-through penalty for that because he, in a sense, was forced to do that. He had no room to work. But that is the penalty from being a little bit aggressive, bit too greedy in that first chicane.
Montoya has to protect from Barrichello, it is. And Barrichello, who's got into 3rd place. Oh, and Michael gets sideways coming into the chicane.
Well, Michael Schumacher starting in the front row of the grid finds himself
in 4th place, and the two Williams BMWs are in front, and it's Barrichello who's leading the Ferrari attack.
But it's Alan McNish in the Toyota who's made a stunning start. McNish up to 7th place. He started all the way down in 13th.
Well, that's fantastic news for Alan McNish. Let's hope that he can hold on to that. There was a little bit of bumping and boring through that first chicane. Jarno Trulli has also made up a huge amount of ground, even though he started at the back. Trulli's gone from the back to be in 15th place already. But here come the leaders. It is Ralf Schumacher ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. Rubens Barrichello in 3rd. There you're looking at Jacques Villeneuve. He's in 11th place. And look, and Coulthard. Coulthard's lost his front wing.
So David Coulthard, somewhere in that melee in the opening lap, has lost the wing. Now, whether that occurred in that Punch and Judy show that went on that first chicane. We hope to maybe get a replay, but in the meantime Montoya gets loose. Michael Schumacher looks to try and take advantage.
That was everybody getting into a bit of bother here, and Montoya now under more attack from Rubens Barrichello. Montoya is going to shut the door on him as they head down through Curva Grande, down towards the second chicane, the Variante del Roggia, and Barrichello still looking for a way to get past.
This is aggressive driving from Montoya. He's having to defend Rubens Barrichello all over the back of the Williams BMW. Driving error from Montoya in that first chicane. Coulthard in and back out with a new nose and wing fitted to the car. But effectively, what a disappointment for the Scotsman.
Disappointment for one McLaren. The other McLaren is running ahead of the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine. So despite Raikkonen being pushed back on the grid as a result of his incident yesterday in qualifying, he has got ahead of Irvine. Here comes Barrichello trying to find a way past Montoya, but it's not enough room up towards Ascari. Michael Schumacher sits comfortably in fourth position.
So let's watch the start again. Look at Ralf Schumacher on the second row of the grid. Montoya goes right across the track to block Michael Schumacher, but opens up the opportunity for Ralf Schumacher to dive down the inside. We remember what happened. Ralf Schumacher, Montoya now side by side into the first chicane, but there's no room for Ralf Schumacher. He has to go across that part of racetrack. He would therefore be seen to have gained advantage.
And it looks like four other cars could have made the same mistakes as well. And it looked like Coulthard ran into the back of his teammate, John, into the back of Raikkonen. You know, Montoya's car looked pretty heavy off the line, didn't it? And I wonder here, as he goes into the chicane, look at the two Williams. Montoya tries to turn in, but runs wide, pushes Ralph.
Both of them went over that piece of green no man's land, but about four other cars did as well. Now, whether they will all be pick of the Williams team, they're absolutely not been trying to take each other.
Well, we shall wait to see what the stewards make of all that, and some people are going to be in trouble, I think, and may have to come in to make a stop-go penalty for you.
It was a force majeure, so I predict that he will not in fact receive a penalty for something which he had no option but to do.
So at the moment it is Ralph up front and setting the pace at 25.717, although slightly quicker up there from Rubens Barrichello as he crosses the line. Look at the run that Barrichello's got here, but he's not close enough to outbrake Montoya into the first chicane.
Oh, an oversteer from Montoya turning in. The back end of the Williams already loose. Whereas Rubens Barrichello, the car looks absolutely rock solid.
Now look at this, bit of a change going on down here as they come into the chicane. Battle between the Renault of Trulli and Villeneuve in the BAR Honda. And Jenson Button there. Ooh, look at Montoya there, really having to protect his position from Barrichello. It does look to me as though that car of Montoya's could be pretty heavy on fuel. Perhaps Barrichello running a little lighter. Remember, last year Barrichello was on a two-stop strategy and in a similar situation hounded Montoya, pushed Montoya until he managed to find a way past. It's a similar scenario, except Ralf Schumacher's ahead of them.
Yes, but what's happening, I think, is Ralf Schumacher's car slips out as he goes through the right-hand part of that third chicane.
He is on the limit in a car that looks a little less wieldy at the moment than those around him, but look, they're catching up to Ralf Schumacher a little bit now.
So
and
Montoya,
Ralph going out wide there. Did Montoya actually go? Yes, he's got past.
Yes, he got past, and also Barrichello gets past. Did Ralph make an error? Smoke from the back, indeed. There is a problem for Ralf Schumacher. There is smoke coming from the back of that car. Now the battle for the lead. Look at Barrichello, pulls up, gets the slipstream, drives past, and there is nothing Montoya can do. He then blocks Montoya. Ralf Schumacher's engine erupts in a cloud of blue smoke. There'll be liquids on the track. Luckily he's pulled to the right, should not affect the racing line.
Well, this is last year in a way, except for Ralph's retirement. That is very, very early to go out of the Grand Prix. He was in front. It was an aggressive first corner from the two Williams drivers. He got in front, but Ralf Schumacher is out, and we've got
Montoya
more.
as well.
I think Montoya went over the chicane. He went right over the runoff there, John, and that's put him in danger of being passed by Schumacher, and if not, he might get a penalty.
Well, I don't think so, because he didn't gain anything. He was already ahead of Michael Schumacher, and reality is through that chicane, if you do go off track,
there's a barge
something
board.
came off the front of bit of the barge board. That's the part of the air vanes that are behind the front wing that deflect the air around the body of the car now. Here's a battle for second place. He is under tremendous pressure from Michael Schumacher.
Well, they are being hounded, the Williams, and now it's down to 1 Williams versus 2 Ferraris, and Barrichello is busy disappearing off up the road. Montoya will be kicking himself after that mistake at the second chicane. He's been pushing very, very hard indeed in these early laps, but the car sliding around, pushing a lot, and it just looks to me as though he's struggling with lots of fuel.
Michael Schumacher is coming, he gets up, picks up the two. Montoya was slow out of the parabolic corner. Look, he can do nothing. Michael just drives alongside, pulls over to the front now, and there's nothing Montoya is able to do. He is in trouble, he has lost grip, and it looks like it'll be a problem for Montoya for the remaining part of this 53-lap Grand Prix.
So Michael Schumacher makes it look very easy. Notice how much he protected the inside. He was not going to give the Colombian the slightest hint of an opportunity to repass into the chicane. Perfectly fair, but very determined. And this is where Montoya made his mistake last time around, and it looks as though it may well have damaged some of the aerodynamics beneath the car. Let's take a look at this. Was what happened. Oh, he grabbed the brake, didn't he?
Yes, he just was very late in the brakes, and he went over the gravel. That's where parts of the bodywork almost loses control completely. Now over the gravel, manages to avoid all the rumble strips, but there, those bits of the bodywork, those little carbon fibre pieces that act as air veins, that is what flew off. We saw it come off the car on the exit of the Lesmo corner 1 lap ago. Now it's Ferrari, Williams, BMW.
Now, let me just tell you what's happening behind these guys. 6.3 seconds behind these trio is Kimi Räikkönen running in 4th. Eddie Irvine of about 5 cars then that are all tripping over each other. It's McNish, Salo, Panis, Heidfeld and Jarno Trulli.
Trulli has done an absolutely unbelievable job. He must be doing something different, because to make it from the back of the field all the way up now to 10th place, he must be one of the cars that looks at doing a 2-stop strategy, but he is involved in a battle that is absolutely nail and there it is, part of that battle. There's McNish running behind Irvine. Now you see Panis, then Heidfeld, Trulli and then Button.
So this is one of the battles of the race at the moment, I have to say. Good close racing going on here, and there in the middle of that group is Jacques Villeneuve. Button with Trulli just ahead of him, Nick Heidfeld just ahead of him as well. It's all very, very close indeed.
And Kimi Räikkönen is only 1.3 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar. We thought that maybe Räikkönen might be able to get away with the lead 4 cars. Now that's a lead 2 cars, because the Ferraris are dropping Williams, BMW like a stone.
Now Barrichello's going very, very quickly at the moment. John, does look as though Ferrari might have gone similar strategy as last year, at least with Barrichello. They may be putting him on his 2-stop strategy, because he's now beginning to set some very, very quick times. It's Olivier Panis that's in this group, actually, between the 2 Toyotas, or behind the 2 Toyotas, McNish, Salo, and then it is Olivier Panis. There goes McNish, there is Panis, and then it is Salo. So he's managed to get past the Finn.
But there's been, throughout the morning session, we watched the 2 Toyotas top the list in the 5 fastest parts of the track. We saw McNish all the way through. Toyota have worked very hard for race setup to make their car quick in a straight line. That's helped McNish get up into his 6th place right now. It's helping Salo battle for 7th, and he's in that battle for 7th with Olivier Panis and the BAR Honda.
So Rubens Barrichello has established a new lap record of 1 minute 24.142. Michael Schumacher runs in 2nd place. The gap between Michael Schumacher and Montoya has opened up to 2 points.
His teammate, as Michael Schumacher just kicks up some dust on the exit of Lesmo 1, but Rubens Barrichello galloping away once again, fastest laps and fastest sector times. This will be another new lap record for the Brazilian, as he pulls away now 5.8 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher in 2nd.
Watch Olivier Panis here, John. He's bearing down on Alan McNish. Now remember, Olivier Panis started 16th on the grid. He's surely running a light car, and here he comes, the Frenchman, who will be driving in a Toyota next year. He's already done the deal, but for the moment he's got the task of trying to get past the Toyota of Alan McNish.
The problem is, whether the Toyota's on a 1 or a 2 stop, it's very quick in a straight line. Of course, in top speeds, fuel load doesn't make much difference, but there's Michael Schumacher, and he ran wide. That dust we saw just after we watched Montoya come round Lesmo 1. But the fuel load doesn't affect top speeds. What it does is affect your braking and it affects the initial acceleration out of these slow speed chicanes.
Montoya lost over a second to Michael Schumacher on that last lap, the gap up to 3.9 seconds, so he cannot stay with either of the Ferraris as Barrichello continues to lap very quickly. We're riding on board here with Olivier Panis as he chases down Alan McNish, and behind these two it's still Mika Salo in the second Toyota. Then it is Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber. Jarno Trulli is in 10th place, but he's right on terms with Heidfeld at the moment. Then 11th is Jenson Button, and in 12th place it's this man's teammate Jack Villeneuve.
So if you're on a two-stop strategy for Olivier Panis, this is where it helps you. It'll help marginally through these two reasonably fast medium speed right-hand corners. The second one is the slower of the two. This is Lesmo 2. Then it's the sprint down to the third chicane. Get under the rear wing. Hope that McNish has got to brake a little bit earlier than you can. You might get alongside. Try the cut back. It's going to be difficult. He's on the inside. McNish is not going to let Olivier Panis take any advantage.
No, he's not, but maybe he'll have an opportunity. Oh, there's a bit of a slide. Great view on board Olivier Panis in this battle is continuing for 6th place. Points down to 6th, of course, in the early stages of this race. They're not really thinking about that. They're just focusing on trying to get past, and Panis not close enough on the approach to Parabolica. This is where he also, but look how fast that Toyota is off Parabolica.
Yeah, from here on, there's nothing that Olivier Panis can do. He's just going to sit there and try and pick up whatever draft he can, because that Toyota is fast in a straight line. Just ahead of McNish, there's a battle going on for 4th place with Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar. They're separated by just over a second, but they're pulling away from this group of 6 cars that is battling over 6th place.
Highest speed trap figure is indeed for Alan McNish, 361 kilometers per hour. That is 225 miles per hour before they get hard on the brakes into one of the slowest corners. And we're back again with this battle between Olivier Panis. We're riding on board with him. McNish directly ahead.
Yes, you could see McNish early on. The power pays the penalty. The back end was stepping out, sliding around. But once you get onto these quicker parts of the circuit, then the advantage that Olivier Panis might have, it ebbs away. Now, pure horsepower, acceleration down these straights up to 200 miles an hour. And there we see one of the Jordans, Takuma Sato, down at that second chicane. A troubled weekend for the young Japanese driver once again.
Yes, he was running fairly close to the back anyway, but he's lost several more places. Up front, Rubens Barrichello leads by some 8.6 seconds with 10 laps completed, and he's still pushing hard. Well, there is the gap you can see back to Michael Schumacher, and then Montoya, who is now 6.1 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, dropping back consistently by about just under a second a lap from Michael Schumacher. We presume that Michael's car running heavier than Barrichello's, and this is what happened to Sato.
Yes, into the second chicane, just a little bit too optimistic, turning in. The back end comes round. At this point, he's just got to grab the hand clutch and make sure he keeps the engine running. We saw he did that. A harmless spin. He was in fact running directly behind his own teammate Giancarlo Fisichella, but he's lost one position to Mark Webber in the Minardi. In fact, he's lost a position to Alex Young in the second Minardi. So in effect, we're saying Takuma Sato running last. Remember, David Coulthard is still in this race, but he's had a pit stop. He's a long way behind Takuma Sato, some 23.4 seconds. What a dismal prospect for David Coulthard.
Olivier Panis still cannot find a way past Alan McNish, but it is a genuine battle between the two teams, Toyota and BAR Honda. Does look as though Panis is running with a light car, but he's frustrated now because he cannot find a way of getting alongside the Scotsman. McNish, as we know, has also been dropped by the Toyota team for next year. Neither Salo nor McNish will be racing for the team. Olivier Panis will be, but we still don't know who will join him within that team. Still rumours that the man who's currently leading the Champ Car series in the United States, Cristiano De Mata, could have an opportunity to drive in one of the red and white Toyotas next year. That's still to be determined. There is Jarno Trulli, who's having a great run. He's in 10th place.
And I suspect Jarno Trulli will be on a two-stop strategy, because remember, he was not able to take up his proper position on the grid. He had a problem. He started at the back, but he quickly leapfrogged up through the field. And once again, Olivier Panis bears down on McNish as they come into the first chicane. Clearly it's under braking where Panis has got an advantage, but it's here in the acceleration and the top speed that Toyota once again can just pull away from the power of Honda.
Well, it's a wonderful battle, a duel going on between these two, and Olivier Panis just has to try and push McNish into a mistake, but McNish very experienced. He might only be in his first year of Grand Prix racing, but extensive experience in sports cars, in other forms of single-seater racing, and here comes Panis once again.
Panis is getting very close indeed to the back of the Toyota. This wide-angle lens doesn't give you a true, there's the true view of where he is. He's now going to have a really serious look once again as they come up to that third chicane, as Barrichello yet again, new lap record, some 10.5 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher.
Panis was unable to get through, let me tell you.
Up to 11.9 as that lap was finished.
Yes, a big gap developing between himself and his teammate. This is definitely looking like the two Ferrari drivers are on different fuel strategies here today, and that won't resolve itself until late in the race, but the gap between the second Ferrari of Michael Schumacher and Montoya, 8.8 seconds now.
Well, we can tell you one of the Toyotas is coming in. We think everything to see is at Mika Salo. It is McNish.
Yes, so McNish
running.
running.
It's only a lap 13, coming in lap end of lap 12.
That's a surprise. Unless he got a penalty. Did he get a penalty for cutting the chicane? No, he's coming down into his pits. It looks like a straightforward pit stop, and it is very, very early indeed. Last year Barrichello came in on lap 19 for a two-stop. There's a problem there, John. There's a definite problem with that wheel change, and it's obviously not just a conventional stop.
No, they're working around the back end of the car. Very, very slow stop indeed. The right front end, sorry, the right rear and right front, giving the team a problem. So now McNish rejoins, but 25, almost 26 seconds last in that pit stop. So McNish will fold all the way down through the field, and that frees up Olivier Panis, who can now try to work his way forward to go and have an attack on Eddie Irvine in fifth place in the Jaguar.
Mika Salo coming under increased pressure now from Nick Heidfeld, and of course Salo has come up to 7th place courtesy of McNish coming into the pits, and a great shame for McNish, who might have been in position to score points here today. He's yet to score points in his Formula 1 campaign, but the Sauber there of Nick Heidfeld, the young German racer driving for the Swiss-based team, chasing down the Toyota of Mika Salo, and right behind them is the Italian Jarno Trulli, who started from the back, remember, and made up such great progress in the early stages. There's the onboard view with Heidfeld, right behind the gearbox of the experienced Finn, Mika Salo. And here they're coming through Curva Grande down towards the second chicane, and still Heidfeld looking for an opportunity.
And just ahead of them you could see Olivier Panis and the BAR Honda come into and out of this second chicane, and already Panis, now that he's been freed from the battle that he was involved in with Alan McNish, has carved into the lead that Irvine in 5th place has. It's down to 4.1 seconds, and Panis is carving that advantage down by about a second a lap. So expect to see further engagement Olivier Panis, but this time Eddie Irvine in about 4 laps.
Well, Barrichello's been on sort of qualifying pace almost in terms of the way he's been driving these early laps. He's been absolutely on the limit ever since he managed to find a way past Montoya. Montoya then making that little error, which does seem to have hurt his performance ever since. And the gap between Montoya and Michael Schumacher now up to 10.5 seconds. There is Montoya, but he cannot seem to do anything about staying with those Ferraris.
Well, while this is all going on, Alan McNish did go out, as you saw. He came back in. He's now in the garage, and Alan McNish's Italian Grand Prix, and sadly, is over. And Juan Pablo Montoya running about, well, 0.8 of a second slower than Michael Schumacher, and well over a second slower than Rubens Barrichello.
McNish's car, they're still checking it over. We've seen them in the past actually bring the cars in and still try to get them back out. I wonder if they'll do the same here today. Robbie Anderson, team principal for Toyota, very anxious always to see if they can get the cars fixed and sending them back out. It's all useful information for this very young team. It's only in its first full season, remember, of Grand Prix racing.
And they appear to be working around the rear drive, the transmission of that car. But if it's something in the transmission, well, there's nothing they will be able to do in the time that would remain. Could probably be a drive shaft or something with the very sophisticated differentials that are in the back of a modern Formula 1 car. In the meantime, Rubens Barrichello once again. Oh, that was De La Rosa getting a little bit loose in Lesmo 1.
Yes, and in fact, just take a look here. He just got past Felipe Massa, De La Rosa, and well, that's one way of getting past.
Yes, but that one also may come under the the view in its car 17 off track at Loop 5, turns 1 and 2. So that has been observed by the various race director and his deputy, and that if there's an issue, it will be handed down to the stewards, and if there's anything to be done about it, he will be brought in for a drive-through penalty. That may be seen as gaining an advantage.
Yes, indeed. Well, Felipe Massa will be only too pleased if De La Rosa peels off into the pits. Let's just remind you, the other Jaguar of Eddie Irvine is still running comfortably in 5th place. Irvine is some 3 seconds behind Raikkonen, but he's 2.4 seconds ahead of Olivier Panis. So far, so good for him.
Yes, but a lap ago that was 4.1 seconds. Now it's 2.4 seconds. Olivier Panis is carving literally a second a lap, if not slightly more, from the advantage Irvine has in 5th place. Irvine now some 3 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen, and Irvine has responded to that because he's now recorded his fastest first sector time in response to the challenge coming from Olivier Panis in 6th place.
So the Ferraris crossed the line. Barrichello again setting a quick pace. So 1 minute 23.937, about 3/10 off his best so far, and he's coming up to lap soon David Coulthard, who had to stop on the first lap for a change of nose cone.
Well, what is Michael Schumacher up to? On the exit of the Lesmo, the second corner, runs very wide. Just keeps the car straight, which is the right thing to do because you'll bring the car back onto track by doing so. But there, an ignominious sight to see David Coulthard about to be lapped. This is lap 17. There's a blue flag being waved. Here the blue light. Pedro de la Rosa, hand up. Now something's off the front wing. He's damaged the front wing in that car. Bitch falling off. In fact, the right, the left front suspension. Is it a tyre failure? Look at that front tyre flailing away.
Now, I wonder if there was contact between himself and Massa. Look at that, John. It's pretty well out of arrangement, that front end of that
that's the suspension. I mean, the suspension is broken. The consequence is Massa and De La Rosa side by... Oh, Olivier, for Felipe Massa, that was naughty.
Yeah, absolutely no chance for De La Rosa. Massa moving out on De La Rosa. There was nowhere for De La Rosa to go. And Felipe Massa not behaving himself particularly well on that occasion. He had the move made. He did not need to do that.
No, he was on the inside. He had the corner. And Felipe Massa was just too impetuous. He just drove over the top of Pedro de la Rosa. Contact ensued. Now, I would not be surprised if there was further damage to the Sauber of Felipe Massa. But Niki Lauda very unhappy indeed with the tactics from the young Brazilian in a battle for what was 12th place.
So with still some 36 laps remaining, 17 laps have been completed. We're looking here, Alex Young, who has Takuma Sato right behind him, and that's a battle for position. Here comes race leader Rubens Barrichello, but Young at the moment ahead of the Japanese driver, who we saw spin earlier on today, and I'm sure Alex Young's actually enjoying the fact that he's got a race on his hands, and he's not going to let Takuma Sato through.
Look at the debris and the gravel or whatever it is on the circuit, just literally, I mean, the line is widening and widening, but that gravel or whatever, certainly, and Felipe Massa now, he goes off at the third chicane. Is that the result of the contact we saw 1 lap ago?
I think that right rear's punctured, John. I think the right rear tyre has gone down, and that presumably is a result of the contact between himself and Pedro de la Rosa. So, a bit unnecessary all that, and a great shame he had the move made. Let's just take a look here a moment ago at what's been going on. Fisichella were riding with, and in fact there was Massa just pulling over and out of the way.
Yes, and there we have a look and see what happened. Oh, and there's the right rear. Well, the right rear tyre certainly is punctured, and the left front comes up. That is the consequence of the contact, and one might say fair dues, because Massa was definitely in the wrong. The way he rode over the top of Pedro de la Rosa's Jaguar. Sauber preparing for a pit stop. This, we assume, will now be for Nick Heidfeld, because well, there's no chance we're going to see Felipe Massa in the pits any longer this afternoon.
No, one Sauber out, one Sauber remains. We've lost a Jaguar and we've lost a Toyota, and of course we've lost a Williams, and oil flags being shown up at the chicane to show that there is a little bit of a slippery surface through there at the moment as that battle rages between Salo, Heidfeld and Trulli. And now look, Ferrari getting ready to receive, presumably, Rubens Barrichello. It was lap 19 last year, and it looks like it will be lap 19 this year.
He had a 16.7 second advantage when he came across the start-finish line on the 18th lap. So we expect that to be up to about 17. Will it be enough?
And we're riding on board with Rubens Barrichello now. We're expecting him to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Almost the same plan as he had last year. Now, last year they had a problem when he first came into the pits, and that possibly handed the advantage to Montoya and Williams. Here comes Barrichello.
Barrichello, look how late he is on the brakes to get down to the 80 km per hour to come into the pit lane. He was fastest of everybody on this in lap in that second sector. So now the team go to work. We look for a very speedy, remember he had 16.7 second advantage on that last lap, out 8.4 seconds, but will it be enough? Certainly it should be enough to see him out in second place, but third place Montoya was 31.1 seconds behind Barrichello. Michael Schumacher's gone through, so we wait and see as Michael comes out. Where will Juan Pablo Montoya be in relation to Rubens Barrichello?
Yes, well, he'll be well behind. Montoya's only just coming across the line. A bit
there is
further up.
Barrichello.
Yeah, you could just see Montoya in the background. And so Barrichello has rejoined in second place, and that puts him behind Michael Schumacher. But that was a great first stint from Barrichello. You know, he was very, very quick throughout. That's exactly what the team required of him. Also coming into the pits now, we're seeing the BAR Honda of Olivier Panis make his way in. So it looks like Montoya is going to go for the one stop, and presumably so is Michael Schumacher.
Yes, but for Rubens Barrichello on that two stop, the commitment the team made to that, it means that Barrichello once again is going to have to push as if this was a qualifying session. And again, just watching Montoya, the back end of the car of that second chicane still is very loose. And what rear tyre wear was the thing that David Coulthard said before the start of this race that he was most concerned about. And if McLaren are concerned about it, then you can imagine that Williams will also have a similar thought.
So bouncing through that chicane once again, Jarno Trulli, 8th place for him at the moment, still putting the pressure on Mick Casalo, and this is all over 7th position. Behind them is Jenson Button running 9th, Villeneuve is 10th, Fisichella 11th, Mark Webber, you know, running in 12th place now, courtesy of one or two people making pit stops, so that's good news for the Minardi driver. We'll wait to see how many pit stops he makes in this race. Still running at the back, Alex Young and Takuma Sato. But Rubens Barrichello, I have to say, has driven a great first stint to be only 4 seconds or so behind Michael Schumacher. In fact, no, it's 11 seconds as he comes over the line this time. And of course, Barrichello will now try and close that gap back up. Michael will make his one pit stop at about half distance, a little bit over half distance, and then Barrichello will make his second stop a little later on.
Well, behind the battle for those first 3 places, Kimi Raikkonen's consolidated in 4th place. Eddie Irvine drops back slightly in 5th by 4.3 seconds. And now 6th place is occupied by Mick Casalo in the remaining Toyota, some 16 seconds behind Irvine in Jaguar.
So things settling down after the first few cars on two-stop strategies coming into the pits. But if anybody else is on a two-stop strategy, I think we'll see them come in over the next few laps. Last year, the first of the one-stopper to come in was on lap number 28. Well, we're only on lap number 20 at this stage. So those on a one-stop strategy will be staying out there for some little while yet. Michael Schumacher, there he is. Our camera in his wing mirror as he makes yet another little adjustment just beneath the steering wheel. He now leads this race. 21 laps have been completed, 32 laps still to go.
And Michael Schumacher lapping in the mid 1 minute 24 second range. Montoya 1 second a lap slower. And we wait for Barrichello to come across and give us his first time lap with fresh fuel and fresh tyres on board.
And we've got a problem for one of the Minardis. It is Mark Webber. Mark Webber has pulled off to the side of the track, and as at Spa, it looks like mechanical problems have put him out, and that's a great shame. They had a good reliability record early this season, but for some reason in these two Grand Prix it's all gone wrong. Michael Schumacher, meanwhile, trying to lap Takuma Sato here.
Yes, and just a difficult part of the track. Sato would have had to pull right over to the right. Now, of course, he accelerates like mad. Michael Schumacher has lost the momentum. Now Sato must break back off, let Michael Schumacher go through. Otherwise, he's going to go through more than 4 of those blue flag, blue zone areas. He must, at this point, let Michael Schumacher go, pull over to the right, even lift off to let Schumacher go through. Otherwise, he could find himself being brought in for infringement of the rules.
So that takes Michael Schumacher past Takuma Sato. The next one on his list is Alex Young, running ahead, the Malaysian, who missed the last 2 Grand Prix when Anthony Davidson took over that ride, and now Young has made his way back into the seat and has qualified safely for this race. Heading down the inside, it's a fairly simple pass for Michael Schumacher. Let's just take a look at what happened to Webber. No smoke emanating from the car, but it looks like he lost all drive, so it might have been some sort of transmission failure. Webber has pulled off.
Yes, this is an area where Michael was definitely delayed by Sato. He ran wide as a consequence, and this whole momentum on the run down into that third chicane. So we're back to second chicane again. We're seeing Michael doing that pretty much consistently all weekend, and that's the level of confidence that being the driver of one of these current Ferraris allows you.
So Renault are now preparing for a pit stop. Let's expect, yes, Trulli, Jarno Trulli into the pits. He ran well, of course, having to start from the back of the grid, managed to make up a lot of ground. Comes in from 8th position, involved 7th place, in fact, in that battle with Mika Salo, and now he has the chance to be refueled and sent back out once again. Fair bit of fuel going on board there. Slowish stop, really, and now rejoins the fray.
And Nick Heidfeld also into the pit lane as Trulli leaves.
Trying to pick up a little bit of the radio communications, telling him to push hard. Well, I'm sure he's going to.
Yes, and there's that white line which you must not pass over until you get to the end of it. That is certainly a serious offence if you come down into this very, very tight chicane after a very high-speed straight.
So Barrichello trying to close that gap up to Michael Schumacher, but Barrichello not managing to lap much faster. He gained half a second on Schumacher last time around. The gap between them is 9.5 seconds currently. So we wait some few more laps before Michael Schumacher will make his, presumably he'll make one stop in this race, still sliding around a fair bit. And it could well be a battle, a genuine battle between the two Ferraris on quite different strategies.
Well, Eddie Irvine having at the minute a fairly lonely race. He's lost contact with Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren Mercedes, some 6 seconds behind, and Mika Salo in the lead on the remaining Toyota, some 20 seconds behind the Jaguar. So Irvine in free air, but has got a really good opportunity once again to get a point-scoring result here this afternoon.
It's a similar story for this man, Kimi Raikkonen. As you see, he's 6 seconds ahead of Eddie Irvine, and he's also some 11 seconds behind Montoya. Let's just stop and listen for a moment as we enjoy the ride with Kimi Raikkonen. Well, he comes up towards the Ascari chicane, and we lose that angle from the front wing. Great shot of the track flashing past. There is Eddie Irvine. And, well, can they keep this car running? It would be great for him to score points for the second race in succession after a real drought of points from the very first Grand Prix of the year, Melbourne, where he scored well thanks to the incredibly high attrition rate there in the first lap, particularly with cars going out as a result of Ralf Schumacher's accident. And Eddie Irvine now trying to back up those points, that point scored in Belgium a couple of weeks ago, with some more points here this weekend, but we've still got plenty of distance to cover.
One of the difficulties that Jaguar have, we saw this morning, was that they wear down in terms of WC top speeds. Irvine's top speed, well, 350 for Irvine, current speed 345. Mick Nish the fastest, 361. These are all, of course, in kilometers per hour. Translates into about 223 or 4 miles per hour. But Jaguar down in top speed. Forget about Toyota, that's not the battle Irvine's in. It's with Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren, and McLaren were probably about 4 or 5 miles an hour quicker down the straight than the Jaguar.
Jenson Button into the pits. Presumably he's going to be making 2 stops, although he's sort of in that intermediary part now. That was quite quick on the fuel. Out he comes once again, and Jenson Button rejoins the fray. His teammate stopped a lap earlier. There is Jarno Trulli just heading around.
Yes, Button's coming out as Trulli comes down, and I think Button's actually going to gain a position because Trulli's the car to the right. Jenson just dives in, gets ahead of his own teammate.
Yeah, so that's a place gained by Jenson Button as a result of the pit stops. He'll be pleased about that, to have moved ahead of his teammates. Of course, Jenson Button moves from Renault to join the BAR team next year, but he'd like to finish off the season with another chance to score points, perhaps, in this race. But it's going to be hard work. The Renaults have been struggling somewhat, I have to say, this weekend.
So it's soon going to be Michael Schumacher's turn to come off and put a lap on David Coulthard. Coulthard, of course, had contact in that first chicane. We think it was with his own teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Coulthard currently in 12th, but about to be lapped by the race leader Michael Schumacher.
Riding on board here with Olivier Panis. He's made 1 stop so far in this race, and he's chasing down Giancarlo Fisichella, who has not yet stopped. Both powered by the Honda engine. We saw Honda in all sorts of trouble last time out at Spa, but that doesn't seem to have been repeated at all here in Italy. It was very much the unique circumstances of that Eau Rouge corner that caused problems.
But he's been really held up by Giancarlo Fisichella, with Fisichella on a one-stop race strategy.
Right ahead of them too is Jacques Villeneuve. So the battle continues here for positions inside the top 10, but just outside the points. Jacques Villeneuve running in 7th place, and Villeneuve appears to be on a one-stop strategy. He's not been in yet. Then it's Fisichella in the yellow Jordan, and then it is Olivier Panis on a 2-stop strategy, currently running 9th. Here is Irvine, still in 5th.
Yes, and also fastest sectors, 1st and 2nd sector, so another push coming from Irvine. He's 6.9 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen. They must be coming up to the point where they're going to make their one and only stop of the afternoon, so the message is coming from the pit wall to push. We need you to maximise in these remaining laps before you come in. We give you a service and send you back out for the rest of the race.
5 cars already out of this Grand Prix. They're Ralf Schumacher, Alan McNish, Pedro de la Rosa, Felipe Massa and Mark Webber, all out of the Grand Prix, and we're almost at the half-distance point now as Ferrari prepare, presumably for Michael Schumacher, who will come in around the half-distance mark to make his one and only stop.
Yes, we're just about at that mark, 53 laps, 27 completed. So Michael Schumacher's going to come in spot on, and he's running now behind Nick Heidfeld. Well, he's not going to worry too much about that. You see the brake dust coming out of Heidfeld's Sauber. The front brakes, the carbon dust just blows out from the both front wheels. Michael, no, he doesn't, stays out one more lap.
Yeah,
well, they've got the tyres out the pit lane, and Michael's decided to stay out. Look at the slipstream, the draft he picks up there. There's a Ferrari engine in the back of that Sauber. That's the engine Sauber will have next year, the one that Michael has just passed the last year's engine with.
Very strange that Ferrari were ready there, unless we're waiting to see Barrichello come in, but I can't imagine why that would be. No, Barrichello's gone past, so might have been a communications mix-up there.
Yes,
perhaps.
the tyres are sitting, waiting for Michael Schumacher to come in. The tyre covers are off, and I just wonder whether there's a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, or have communications gone down. Remember,
Ascari now building up the speed. It will be as he comes out of the next corner that we'll expect to see him peel off into the pit lane.
So Michael Schumacher on the brakes as he goes into Parabolica. We look back at the Williams team, then back to Schumacher. Watch for the cut as he comes out of the corner. Now he's going to cut into the pit lane. There he goes, right on the limit. Now he's gone one. Oh, he slews in, locks the car up. He was so late. Now there clearly has been something that was a misunderstanding. Ross Brawn looks round. Can this be? Surely not. Are these people human after all?
Do you reckon? I don't know. It looks like we were still going to end up with a Ferrari 1-2 here, John, as Michael gets away. 10.8 seconds. The single stop still not taking that long, putting in a lot more fuel, of course, than Barrichello had for his stop earlier.
So about 100 litres with fuel, and that's good enough for 28 laps, so 25 to go.
Oh, and there Montoya just getting a bit squeezed out as he tried to find a way past Alex Young as well as Takuma Sato down at the first chicane, the Rettifilo Tribune, but he couldn't quite manage to make it past both of the back markers. I should think he threw Eddie Irvine in.
Yes, we saw Irvine pushing that last lap very hard indeed. So Irvine comes in in 5th place. So Jaguar in for the one and only service of the day. Again, that huge amount of brake dust.
No launch.
Being told, no doubt, how to pull away. No launch. Presumably don't use the launch control system to help you get away.
So he lights up the rear tyres, leaves clouds and clouds of blue smoke, puts rubber down. Launch control used only for the start, to try and engage it to make a quick start. Maybe more trouble than it's worth.
So Irvine rejoins the fray. That's got him out ahead of the likes of Villeneuve, Fisichella and Panis. That huge battle that is still raging, but it has put him out behind Mika Salo. So the
Not on Mika Salo, it's on Kimi Raikkonen, who yet has not made his first stop. Raikkonen probably started the race with an exceptionally heavy car. We know that McLaren frequently like to go very deep into a race where particularly a one-stop strategy is being employed. So Raikkonen will be gaining time all the time. Irvine with a full car. Okay, brand new tyres on, but nevertheless, it takes a couple of laps just to get back into the rhythm. So as Kimi Raikkonen can continue to pull away, Irvine's just got to get himself reacclimatised.
29 laps have been completed in the Italian Grand Prix, and it is now time for the Williams crew to get ready for Juan Pablo Montoya to make his way into the pits. He is 14.1 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, currently lying in second place. Of course, Michael Schumacher, having made his stop, is now behind Montoya.
Yes, but 7.7 seconds is the advantage that Montoya has, and that's all going to disappear by the time when Pablo Montoya gets into he'll not even be stopped by the time Michael Schumacher is almost adjacent to him on the racetrack.
And bad news for Alex Young, the Malaysian, who's been running well in the Minardi. He's got some sort of problem in the pits, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get him back out again. Watch here as Montoya presumably will peel off into the pits. Yes, he tightens the line on the exit of the corner. Down the gears, on the brakes, slows it down to the speed limit.
Wait, Michael Schumacher is probably just on the exit. He is of the Parabolica, so as Juan Pablo Montoya. And Kimi Raikkonen blew up second race in succession. He suffered a mechanical failure. Kimi Raikkonen is out of this race on the run down to Parabolica, and that will elevate Salo and Irvine to 4th and 5th respectively.
So some people getting a chance to score some more points here today, and we always said this could be a race of attrition. It is so hard on the engines, and now we have seen proof of that with Kimi Raikkonen joining our list of retirements that includes Webber, Massa, De La Rosa, McNish and Ralf Schumacher.
And the 2 yellow dots at the top of the screen indicate a yellow flag zone. That is on the run down to the final corner of the Parabolica. This is the reason why Kimi Raikkonen's Mercedes-Benz engine erupts, and that is a tragic and sad end for the young Finn. A troubled weekend, caught in an issue with Takuma Sato. He also had a retirement for similar reasons 2 weekends ago in Belgium.
Yeah, he's been out of luck this year. Lot of retirements, in fact, for Kimi Raikkonen, and another bitterly disappointing way to end this weekend's competition. Salo has come in, so that means that Irvine now moves up into 4th position. Salo trying to rejoin the fray, and it'll be interesting to see where he gets back out again. So he has come out just behind the 2 Renaults there, and Button and Trulli running 11th and 12th currently. So that means Salo's got plenty of work to do, but we expect the Renaults to be coming back in again later on.
Yes, but also it's just see how quick in a straight line these Renaults are. We know that Mike Gascoigne, the technical director, has trimmed these cars out to the very minimum he can get away with. The Renault V10 engine, that very wide angle V10 engine, does not develop the same horsepower as Mika Salo has with Toyota, but they also expect to see the Renaults coming in a little later in the race for their second stop.
So heading up towards the Ascari chicane, it is our race leader Rubens Barrichello, and the 2 Ferraris running on these different strategies, obviously on different parts of the race circuit now, but both chasing the win.
There are 2 cars in that leading group yet to make a pit stop. They are Jacques Villeneuve and Giancarlo Fisichella, both Honda-powered BAR and Jordan respectively. They're running in 5th and 6th positions. They will come in late and then make their final and one only stop of the day.
That was the moment. Oh, did Salo
Well,
cross
Salo
that white
did
line?
cross it. Oh yes, there's no doubt. There you go. He crossed that white line.
Well, he's busy checking his mirrors, of course, as he comes down the straight, and presumably just made that little error, and that could be a very costly error indeed. A great shame if he gets penalised, and no chance then of scoring points if that occurs. Well, Eddie Irvine now up to 4th place. Look at Villeneuve now in a point-scoring position as well. He's 5th, and in fact with Fisichella behind him in 6th place. Honda-powered cars, 2 of them now into that top 6.
Yes, and they'll be battling out. They'll make their stop. There will be a relatively short stop, although it's a one-stop Grand Prix for both those drivers. It'll be a battle between the BAR and Jordan teams, because there is only just under a second between Villeneuve and Fisichella. So excitement on the racetrack. Well, watch what's going to happen in the pit lane.
Yes, indeed. Well, a couple of other drivers might yet come into this battle. We're looking at Montoya. Current speed 348 kilometers per hour compared to his best to date of 354 kilometers per hour, but still that top performance by the Toyota of McNish at over 225 miles an hour under brake before they get on the brakes.
Barrichello has a 24.2 second advantage over Michael Schumacher, and a further 24.3 seconds advantage over Montoya. So we're coming into the zone where Barrichello will be able to come in and make a second stop and get back out ahead of his teammate. So it looks as if the 2-stop strategy that was adopted for Barrichello could be the winning one this afternoon.
Confirmation that there is a penalty for car number 24, Mika Salo, just coming through.
Drive-through penalty.
And there is the information being relayed.
You went over the white line at the end of the pit lane. Just a little, but you crossed the white line.
And that's the news Mika Salo did not wish to hear, and he will come in for his penalty, and really any chance of scoring points here today for Toyota have just gone out the window. What's Montoya been up to here?
Watch for bits of bodywork coming off, because I think we saw just something fly. Let's wait and see. No, it does. Well, the team are certainly waiting for one of their two cars to come in. So maybe, yes, it is Montoya. Montoya is coming in.
He's in trouble, John. There must be some sort of situation going on here to be coming in at this stage. Montoya makes his way slowly into the Williams pit. Can we try and identify what they're focusing on? Patrick Head runs round the back.
Well, I just wonder, when he went over that curb, did that cause the problem, or was there something more? It certainly appears to be around the rear of the car.
This is certainly bad news for Williams, but it could be great news for Jaguar.
And it's over.
Montoya clambers out. It's all over. His hopes and dreams of repeating victory at Monza from 2001 are over and done with. Let's take another look and see if we can identify any problems here. Montoya seemed to be...
Oh yes, a puncture. Well, so no, it wasn't. Something on the left rear, rather, a suspension. It looks like a push rod on the rear suspension.
Or the left
or
front.
Maybe the left front. Could be even the left. There's something very weird around that whole car. So clearly mechanical suspension parts, as Mika Salo does his drive through for running over the white line. There is that white line in the middle of the road. You must not run over it before you get down to the corner. This time he does it properly, but of course he's frustrated, and knowing Mika Salo, he is quite fiery and very unhappy about the fact that he made an error. There's no one else to blame but himself, but the penalty is tough today.
Yes, it is, and Takuma Sato now runs behind him. He's running in 13th and last position, but this opens up a potential battle between these two. And we're certainly seeing a high level of attrition. Lots of cars going out of this race, so it's worth keep pushing, because Irvine now finds himself in 3rd place for Jaguar. What a performance is that, because of the problems.
I just wonder when he hit that, I think when he hit the curb there, you can see the left front, certainly there it is now, the left front when he hit the curb. Now he damaged something within the suspension, and that was the cause of Montoya's retirement.
Well, that's a surprise. The cars are pretty bulletproof normally over the chicane curbs.
So Villeneuve in. This is his only stop of the day. Villeneuve comes in 6th place. And we wait. Fisichella is still now the only car who has not yet made a pit stop, and this is lap 35.
So great opportunity for the likes of Villeneuve and Fisichella to score points here today, but also Heidfeld in the Sauber. He might get into the points himself, working out the pit strategies. Michael Schumacher crosses the line. The gap between Barrichello and Michael now 26.2 seconds. Barrichello's looking good on this two-stop strategy. Montoya explaining what happened, and it's all turned to dust for Williams after taking pole position and thinking they may really be able to give Ferrari a challenge today. It's all gone wrong for them, and Ferrari are heading to another 1-2 finish.
So it's a battle for 4th place. Olivier Panis, 0.7 of a second behind Fisichella. Panis has made one stop. Fisichella has not made a stop. It could be that these two Honda-powered cars are going to make stops at very similar periods in this Grand Prix. But Fisichella, having gone 36, this is the 36 of 53 laps, surely cannot go much further.
No, he'll be coming in relatively soon, I'm sure. Panis, though, will presumably be coming in for his second stop as well at some point, because he was one of the light cars at the beginning of this race, and Fisichella's still out there at the moment, stays out for yet another lap.
Yes, last year the car that went the furthest was Pedro de la Rosa. He did 36 laps. Fisichella has now completed 36 laps onto his 37th lap, and he is the only car outside of Takuma Sato in the second Jordan yet to stop.
So some big fuel tanks on the Jordans, and they're making full use of them here today in terms of their strategy, as we see Eddie Irvine, and he's about to be lapped by race leader Barrichello. And I tell you what, John, this is a great drive we're witnessing from Rubens Barrichello. If he were to make his second stop now, he should have enough advantage to get out ahead of his teammate Michael Schumacher.
Now there's an example of a driver using his brain. Irvine saw race leader coming up. He stayed on the racing line. He backed off before Lesmo won. He let Barrichello go through, and FEC Takuma Sato come in for his stop of the afternoon, and wait to see when Fisichella, he's going to come in one lap later. Ferrari now preparing for Rubens Barrichello, who got past Eddie Irvine, didn't lose any time, So expect to see Barrichello come in at the end of lap 37 with a 26.9 second advantage as he went across the line at the end of lap 36.
Now, can Barrichello win this race in a real justified example of pushing hard in the early laps and trying to make the most of a two-stop strategy? Now here comes Barrichello. This is so crucial. Will he end up getting out ahead of his teammate Michael Schumacher? It's going to be close in terms of time.
Ben, Michael Schumacher right now has just exited out of that third chicane. He is running flat out down the straight behind these pits. He's coming down into Parabolic, and we're watching Rubens Barrichello. The team do a great job. I think Barrichello will get out and retain the lead, but of course it's a long pit lane exit. There's Michael Schumacher. Barrichello hasn't even exited the pit yet. There he is now. Get on the throttle, Michael Schumacher. It's going to be very close. It'll be side by side, wheel to wheel into the first chicane.
Watch that white line. He must not cross the white line as he comes over the... He doesn't. He's very safe. He's right in front of his teammate Michael Schumacher. The two Ferraris absolutely perfect there. The timing was just right. Rubens Barrichello gets out ahead of Michael Schumacher, and will they stay that way, or will now Michael Schumacher put the pressure on his teammate?
Well, I believe it will be open season for both Ferrari drivers. I think that they would hate to see the criticism in the media if they thought this was a stage for the honour of standing on the winner's podium here in Monza.
Eddie Irvine runs in third place, remember, having made his one and only stop, and Ferrari were pretty happy about that, as they had every right to be. Good work from Barrichello's pit crew, and they've got him out ahead of his teammate Michael Schumacher. The two Ferraris, this is what the Tifosi came to see, John. Ferraris running 1 and 2, and look how close they are on track. Just shows you how the different strategies work out. And into the pits for his only pit stop, Giancarlo Fisichella. Done a great job with a heavy fuel load in the early stages.
David Coulthard in as well, but Coulthard well and truly out of it this afternoon. Fisichella gets out, so his main battle will be with Olivier Panis. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, much further down the field. Panis, of course, Panis has 2 stops, so we wait to see as Fisichella blends back in. He comes in behind the 2 lead cars, but of course, Fisichella now 1 lap down.
Yeah, you say Coulthard's well out of it, but he may still be able to get into the points, possibly, with 1 or 2 other people still having to make a second pit stop. We'll have to see how that all works out, but certainly not the sort of challenge he would have hoped to provide, and nothing like competitive with these 2 up front. Here is Eddie Irvine, but Olivier Panis right behind him. This is for position, but remember, we expect Panis to have to... Yes, indeed. Well, let's just see what happens. There's still some time to go. 15 laps remain, and remember, the reliability issues are very crucial here, very critical on reliability. Irvine managing to protect his position from Olivier Panis for the moment, but the Frenchman has driven well all day, I have to say. Starting with a light car, he's had to push very hard, and he's done so, shadowing earlier on some of the Toyotas, and then managing to squeeze between, and he had to sit behind Alan McNish for lap after lap. But now he's finding the task of getting past Eddie Irvine will be a very tough one indeed.
Yes, Eddie is a very astute driver. He knows how to make his car difficult to overtake. He's not doing anything unfair whatsoever, and that's what comes with maturity and experience. And Olivier Panis probably not got quite the horsepower behind him that Irvine has from the Cosworth-powered Jaguar. So they run down again up into this third chicane.
And still Irvine just with the edge. 14 laps to go then. Irvine still trying to hold off Olivier Panis. Irvine has made his one and only stop, and Jaguar looking set for their best results of the season if they can do it. Look at Panis though, picking up the slipstream, trying to go past out into Parabolica. Be sensible, Eddie. He is sensible. It's not worth trying to fight Panis at this stage.
No, Panis got a really good run down behind Irvine out of that third chicane down into the Parabolica. Irvine thought about it, Panis thought about it. In the end, Irvine braked and let Panis take the position on the road, but expect to see Olivier Panis back into the pit lane some few laps from now for his final stop of the day.
Yes, BAR team very happy about Olivier Panis' progress. Remember, Jacques Villeneuve is still running. He's down in 8th place on his one-stop strategy. It all depends a little bit on what the Renaults are up to. We think the Renaults will probably have to stop again. They're running 5th and 6th, Trillian Button, but we think they'll have to stop again. So we're going to see quite a number of changes as the second pit stops are made here at Monza.
Here's this pass, perfect position. Olivier Panis comes up, gets alongside as they come into the braking zone. Plenty of space between the BAR and the Jaguar. 2 experienced, mature drivers, some might say old, but that's what you need in these situations.
Yeah, and that was the reaction of the team of Olivier Panis. They were delighted about that, and you see how he's managed to extend that advantage over Irvine on this one lap. But Irvine just needs to control his pace, not do anything silly, and he's been in this situation many times. He is a very strong race driver, a clever driver, and he knows when it is time to defend his position to the utmost and when it's time to perhaps give somebody else a bit of room, as he did there with Olivier Panis. Now behind Irvine, remember, 11 seconds behind him is the Renault of Jarno Trulli, 5 seconds behind him is Jenson Button, and then it's Fisichella in 7th place, Jacques Villeneuve running 8th, then Coulthard, Heidfeld, Sarlo and Sato.
We know for sure that Fisichella and Villeneuve only needed that one stop there. We see BAR preparing for Olivier Panis. So whether the two Renaults also can go on one stop or will need a second stop, well, this man Olivier Panis, who spent a number of laps trying to get past Eddie Irvine, finally succeeded in doing so, has to push very hard, because clearly that third place that he is in currently is going to evaporate, and he'll fall in the field probably somewhere around about where his teammate Villeneuve is, and that currently is 8th place.
Yes, it's actually, they're all pretty close behind. It's going to be tough for him here to actually get a decent position after he's made this second pit stop. So it is quite a challenge for Panis, despite having run earlier on. So let's wait and see, with BAR ready for Panis to come in.
Ben, you mentioned David Coulthard. He dropped back to 9th after that one and only stop, but what Coulthard is doing is running very, very quickly indeed, running at the race pace of Rubens Barrichello, compared to Eddie Irvine, who's running in 4th, but he's running about almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than this man Irvine, who we think, when this all shakes out after the pit stop of Panis, will be back in 3rd place, and who really is on course to consolidate 3rd place.
Now, Panis comes in. Where will this bring him back out? That's the big question. And of course, when will, if they will Renault come back in with Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button? First of all, the pit stop has to go cleanly, and David Richards, team boss at BAR, is keeping a close eye on things here to see that everything goes as smoothly as possible. Now the Renaults are coming around. Trulli's already gone past, and that's Jenson Button now heading down the start-finish straight. Then we've got a group of cars of Fisichella, Villeneuve, Coulthard, and a bit behind them is Heidfeld.
So Olivier Panis is out, and he's going to filter in behind Jenson Button, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. And there we see David Coulthard makes his way past Jacques Villeneuve. So that battle for what was 9th place is now 8th to Coulthard, 9 to Jacques Villeneuve. Coulthard making up for the error he made in the first corner, first lap, with another storming drive.
I tell you what, the two-stop seems to be working here. It worked for Barrichello, and if you remember that Panis started 16th and Villeneuve started 9th, they also went for the contrasting strategies. Now look at Panis, he's definitely gained on Villeneuve. Two stops has worked well this afternoon.
Ferrari, that's Schumacher.
Who is that going so slowly, letting them through? It is Michael Schumacher.
Let's have a look and see. Here's David Coulthard putting a pass. This is a pass for position on Jacques Villeneuve, but that was Michael Schumacher out of that second chicane. Suddenly, well, whether did he just back off? Does he want to stay out of the battle? His car, this is Rubens Barrichello we're looking at, waiting for Michael Schumacher to come into picture.
Michael's just gone through the second sector. He only lost 3 seconds on his best through that sector, so perhaps he was just backing off and letting that battle go through, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Whether Michael has a problem or whether he's just playing safe, we'll soon find out. Barrichello now with a nice big advantage.
Well, at the second sector it was 11 seconds exactly. We wait to see what it is when Michael Schumacher comes across the line for the 44th time. So 11.9 seconds. So whatever Michael did, or whatever the reason, that gap between Barrichello in the lead, Michael in second place, has extended.
So keep your eyes peeled, because Michael Schumacher is either just taking it easy, or he's actually got some sort of mechanical problem. Meanwhile, Barrichello looks set for a very well-driven victory. It could still be a 1-2 for Ferrari. Irvine running 3rd. Now, what is going to happen with Renault? That's what I want to know. Jarno Trulli is running 4th. Behind him is his teammate Jenson Button. Remember, Button actually got ahead on the first round of pit stops. Trulli then managed to find a way back past Jenson Button somewhere. But we think may well have to come in for some extra fuel in this race. If they both come in, that will push Panis up to 4th place. It will bring Fisichella up. It will also bring Coulthard up. And Coulthard, meanwhile, is trying to close up on Giancarlo Fisichella.
But if they don't, Trulli running behind Irvine on board here, with Irvine coming across start-finish straight, 9.4 seconds behind, but running about half a second, 0.6 of a second faster than Irvine is doing currently.
Well, the Renaults are continued around for the moment. Irvine now will be listening out for all those awful noises that might indicate there's a problem. Let's just hope that the car can hold together for another 9 laps here to take a podium finish at Monza for the Jaguar team. That really would be quite some achievement. And apart from the top 3 teams this year, I don't think we've seen any of the other teams managing to get onto the podium. So that really would be quite something special here at Monza this weekend. Great opportunity to just watch and listen. Irvine at work. He completes another lap, and the lap's gradually ticked off as Irvine tries to chase down that best finish of the season. And what a result it would be for Niki Lauda and the team if he can keep it together. There is Lauda talking to Günther Steiner, and the nerves must be jangling.
It's been a tough year for this team across the board. It's been a tough 3 years for this team, and at a crucial point in the team's future, to be able to produce this kind of performance and to get a result, we don't want to be over-optimistic and we put the Lurgi on Jaguar and Eddie Irvine, but they're running in 3rd place. Trulli still hunting down Irvine by a second that last lap. Remember, Trulli has only made 1 stop. We think that the 2 Renaults will have to make a second stop, but it is going to be a very late one. In the meantime, Trulli's carving second by second.
To push hard and see if he can find a way past the Jordan Honda. Can the Renaults stay out there? They're still there in 4th and 5th.
And I think David's going to find this a difficult battle. Giancarlo Fisichella, one of the finest racers out there, and unless he's going to be outgunned in terms of horsepower, I think David will find that the maturity that Fisichella has evolved with will match everything that Coulthard can throw at him.
It's a tough task, but then Coulthard is a very good racer himself, to see whether he can just go all the way through and take the place from Fisichella. They're inside the Renault pit. That's what we want to know, whether these guys are going to be required to do any more refueling on their 2 cars. If not, this is going to be a major result for Renault, getting both cars in the points. Reliable so far, and they have had a lot of poor reliability this season, but so far so good. Both Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button inside that crucial top 6. And look at Fisichella, he's very aware that Coulthard's there.
Yes, David got very close in that first chicane, tried to pick up the slipstream from the Jordan Honda on the run down into the 2nd chicane. Fisichella being aware of it, being defensive, and they move out through these 2 Lesmo corners. Second one being the more critical. Let's sort of see how close Coulthard in fact did get to the rear of the Jordan. Did Fisichella make? He did. Fisichella made an error under brakes and had to gather it all back up. That's the reason why Coulthard was able to run down Fisichella so easily.
Well, it's nervous times. Jürgen Hubbard of Mercedes keeping a close eye. Of course, they've lost 1 engine, 1 car from this race already. That was Kimi Räikkönen. As up front, we've seen Barrichello dominating things at the moment. Michael Schumacher still running in 2nd, but losing over a second a lap to his teammate, but he's still way ahead, of course, of Eddie Irvine.
Interestingly, Barrichello also now backs off the race pace. His last lap, 1:28.2, Michael 1:27.3. In the meantime, Jarno Trulli doing 1:25.4s. Oh, a big run down the inside. Very well. Oh, David has got it wrong, and Fisichella can come back. So David Coulthard backs off, lets Fisichella regain that advantage, but that was a very late, courageous down the inside attempt of take away that position. 7th it was for Fisichella, 8th for Coulthard.
With that toe, he's got the highest speed trap figure. He went to 363 kilometers per hour as he was tucked in behind. Here it is once again, 227 miles an hour he was doing there.
Well, no wonder he outbraked himself. He was going about 4 or 5 miles an hour quicker than he's done any other previous lap. And David Coulthard goes over that area which is deemed to be non-racetrack. He backed off, let Fisichella regain his position. He's now got to think about it, work it out again. He knows he can do it. He's just got to get that little bit closer to Fisichella coming through the exit of the Parabolica to enable him to get alongside and then really dominate the corner from the inside and put Fisichella at the disadvantage.
There's no sign of any action in the Renault pit, let me tell you, and that would be something. If they can keep both cars out there, no need to refuel. There's only 6 laps to go. Somebody heading slowly.
I think that was Heidfeld, I'm not sure. Certainly a car going slowly on the right-hand side.
Yes, I think it could well have been Heidfeld. We'll check that again in just a moment. But the Renaults stay out, and Jarno Trulli is looking at a 4th place finish.
4.9 seconds at the end of lap 48 out of 53, 5 to go. So there's Irvine, there is Trulli. So Jarno Trulli started this race at the very back of the field, has only made 1 stop. We thought he may be on a 2-stop race, but a great effort from Renault and particularly Jarno Trulli here in his home Grand Prix.
Well, he's going quickly, and in fact Irvine's got to get his act together.
He has, Irvine's got his act together. He's picked up the pace at the same time. In fact, he was quicker through that first sector than Trulli on this lap we're watching. This is lap 49.
And Coulthard's back on the attack of Fisichella. He's made up that lost ground after running through the chicane too wide, and now Coulthard putting the Jordan under increasing pressure once again.
And Irvine also under pressure. Time in that second sector matching Trulli and Irvine, virtually identical times.
So the Michelin tyre has worked very effectively on the Jaguar and on the Renaults this afternoon, it has to be said. McLaren have not had their best day, with Raikkonen going out with those problems, and also Coulthard, of course, having his nose wiped off when he made contact with Raikkonen. If it hadn't been for that, I'm sure he would have been much further ahead, but here he is trying to get past Fisichella.
Now here's the chance Coulthard's been looking for. He did it 1 lap ago, it went wrong. He's got to get as close as possible at this point of racetrack. Now he can pick up the toe from the rear of the Jordan Honda. Can Mercedes horsepower? We know he's the quickest car in the straight line. He got the toe to prove it the previous lap, but again tries to come out. No, not this time. Again, brake dust. You see that carbon dust coming out from the wheels, those front wheels just discharging tons of the dust.
Fisichella determined not to be intimidated by David Coulthard as he moves around in his slipstream, and so far so good. But remember, they're still not in the battle for the points. Fisichella runs 7th, David Coulthard runs 8th. Up ahead of them is Panis, who's got that last point scoring position.
But between them, in Eddie Irvine and Jarno Trulli, the gap has stayed stationary on that last lap, 4.7 seconds. Nevertheless, the battle, the 2 first sector times identical, the 2 second sector times a 1/10 of a second advantage to Trulli in the Renault, but it's effectively no difference.
Well, there's some good tussle still going on in this race. Trulli still some 12 seconds ahead of his teammate Jenson Button, but up front Barrichello still with the advantage. Bit of a slow lap from Barrichello.
He's had a couple of slow laps. He's running in the 1:28. He's done that, I think, now for 3 laps. The gap had been up to, well, on just under 20 seconds at one stage. Now it's back to 9.2 seconds. So I think we're going to see a bit of a grandstand finish from Ferrari here this afternoon. There's no threat from 3rd place. Irvine, he's got his battle going on with Jarno Trulli for that final podium position. Trulli now down to 4.5 seconds behind Irvine in 3rd place.
Yes, it looks like Rubens is sort of waiting for Michael. I don't think he's going to let him through, but at least they will cross the line together. I'm sure that would provide the great photographs at the end of the day. Fisichella still fends off Coulthard.
And David Coulthard, I'm sure, thoroughly frustrated, but in fairness to Fisichella, he didn't bump into the back of his teammate. David Coulthard did. Had Coulthard not done so, he would be riding right now in 3rd place, and he would be the 3rd man on that podium. I think there will be a rather unhappy team principal when David Coulthard gets out of this car after a long 190-mile Grand Prix. At 5th place for BAR and Panis, Jenson Button defending valiantly.
Yeah, and that battle's only going on just ahead of these two, of course, remember. Next battle up the road, there is Barrichello, and he allows Villeneuve to go past him as he waits, I think, really for Schumacher to catch. Let's hope that there's no problem.
And the gap is down to 7.4 seconds, and we have now 3 laps remaining. Being, well, I'd not say orchestrated, but let's say there's Michael Schumacher, there is he, Nick Heidfeld, And then, of course, Rubens Barrichello in the lead. So this is going to be, we believe, Ferrari coming across the line in formation.
This was the moment. Barrichello just waving Villeneuve through. And Villeneuve says thank you very much, and it nips past. Of course, he's outside the points at the moment. Olivier Panis, his teammate, is all set to score the final point, although he's still chasing down Jenson Button, if you remember.
4 seconds now. You could see the two Ferraris literally just turning into the first chicane as Michael Schumacher prepares. But this battle goes on. As David Coulthard got past, Coulthard has finally made a way past.
He has.
This is the reason why, because Fisichella got it wrong, and that was in the first chicane. So David Coulthard, his patience, his pressure has paid dividends. He's found a way past the first of the two Jordans.
Well, how about that then? Coulthard makes the place, but it's still not for a point. It's for 7th place. And, well, Enrico Zannarini, that's Eddie Irvine's manager. He celebrated his 50th birthday last week. They had a great big party, and now, birthday present best of all is the fact that Eddie Irvine could well come through to take 3rd place. What a time when he's engaged in negotiations with teams for next year to produce a performance like this. The car has worked superbly well all weekend.
Yes, and I mean, I have to say, it gives me a great pleasure to be able to say something so good, so positive about Jaguar, who have had to be at different times critical, castigating. They have had a very, very difficult season. Now, Ferrari running in formation. Rubens Barrichello, Michael Schumacher, and I suspect that the positions will remain unchanged as they end the penultimate lap and go on to the last lap of this afternoon's 53-lap Italian Grand Prix.
Well, Eddie Irvine was a part of the last Ferrari 1-2 here at Monza, and that was back in 1998 when Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine finished 1st and 2nd. This time, Irvine will be on the podium again, but he will be behind another Ferrari 1-2. It's Barrichello that's going to lead them home.
And some people will say, well, really, Irvine never left Ferrari, and let's call it a Ferrari 1-2-3.
Well, he'll certainly be enjoying himself to join these two on the podium. It's the first time that a team other than Williams, Ferrari and McLaren have achieved a podium finish this year. And all congratulations to Niki Lauda, to the boys at Jaguar, have worked so hard this year, put up with a great deal of disappointment in the early part of the season. But what about these two Ferraris? They have once again come through to dominate the event. Williams thought they might be able to challenge them here today, but it has not worked out that way. And Barrichello is going to lead Michael Schumacher home for the 7th Ferrari 1-2 of the season. It's a remarkable statistic, and it'll bring them up to 13 wins in 15 races.
So here they come into the Parabolica for the final time on a racing lap. Rubens Barrichello from Brazil, Michael Schumacher from Germany, and the horns, the sirens, the cheers are rising.
Rubens Barrichello leads the Ferrari 1-2 here at Monza. Perfect performance from the two of them, and Barrichello deserved the victory after a beautifully driven 2-stop strategy gave him the advantage over the world champion. And Ferrari's celebrations will go deep into the night.
Well, Eddie Irvine has just come out of the second Lesmo. Well, that's how the Brazilians do it.
Oh, great reaction from Rubens. And we're waiting now to see Eddie Irvine come across the line. There he is, 3rd place for Irvine, 3rd place for Jaguar.
A fantastic effort all week by Jaguar. Eddie Irvine brings that car home, 4 points, 3rd place, podium position. Fantastic job, guys. Well done.
Well done, Eddie. Well done. Pick the rubber up. Pick the rubber up. Well done.
And what about this from Renault? 4th and 5th places for Renault. Reliability all the way, and Jarno Trulli at last gets a decent result at his home race here at Monza. Well, it's been a long time coming. He's never finished in the points here before, but what a time to do it. Jenson Button scoring 2 points for 5th, and then we'll see Olivier Panis come through the 1 point for 6th.
And you know, there's a lot of wonders in this race, but one of them is Jarno Trulli. He started in the back row of the grid. Had he started in his regular stop, where he ought to have started in the 6th row of the grid in 11th place, what would he have done? Certainly he would have given Irvine and Jaguar a much harder run for their money, and that battle for that final podium position would have been about two manufacturers, Renault and Jaguar, but this time Jaguar gained the advantage.
into the eyes of the Monza race winner, Rubens Barrichello. Well, I have to say, fully deserved victory. His 4th career win, of course. His 3rd of the season. And he is over the moon with that one. Michael Schumacher beaten today, I suppose you can say, to a certain extent, beaten by strategy. It was clear, not only from the Ferraris today, but also from the BAR Hondas, that if you contrasted the 1-stop and 2-stops, it seemed to be the 2 stops that worked. But then you look at Renault. Renault came up with something slightly different, and it really worked for them on a 1-stop strategy, an early 1-stop. Trulli and Button both finishing in the points.
Yeah, I think Renault's performance really consolidates what we saw earlier in the year. They were on an upward curve. That flattened out in the middle of the year. It appears to have come back here. Courageous decision to go for a 1-stop strategy. Nevertheless, find 4th and 5th place, and that will do their position in the Manufacturers' Championship a power of good. So they get 3 and 5 points for that, and that takes them to 20. Jordan under pressure now from BAR. BAR with 6 points to Jordan, 7 in the championship. Come the US Grand Prix, well, battles throughout the field, major battles for all the teams outside of the top, for Ferrari that is.
Yeah, well, Ferrari have shown that once again they are pretty much unbeatable. Williams, Montoya in particular in the early stages tried to take the battle to them, but this was the moment. A Ferrari 1-2 finish. There's nothing more special than that here at Monza. Barrichello cutting across the nose of Michael Schumacher's car and taking a 1-2 finish. It's been done here at Monza before, as we mentioned, back in 1998. Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine achieved the same. Before that, it was all the way back to 1988 and that famous 1-2 for Gerhard Berger and Michele Alboreto in a season that was otherwise completely dominated by McLaren. But the Tifosi will have plenty to shout about as the drivers come out on the podium.
And Rubens Barrichello, after giving that little exhibition of his personal joy, steps out of the car and helmet will be off. He is very happy indeed, and Rory Byrne just in the background, the man responsible for the design of this car. Ross Brawn, of course, technical director, but it is Rory Byrne who is the designer. So teammates and Michael saying once again, Rubens, many thanks for all the effort and work you put in to help. I remember he had a terrible Friday, but not much better Saturday. Well, the Sunday is the reward.
Yeah, and he did a great job. You know, he had a tough time in the early laps. He was trying to find his way past Montoya in those early laps, and he must have felt, being on a 2-stop strategy at that point, he must have felt, oh, the time's getting away, I must not be stuck behind Montoya for too long. Well, of course, he managed to get past Montoya, found the chink in Montoya's armour, and then he was just on it for lap after lap after lap. It was almost a Schumacher-like performance on that first stint, and that was really where he did the work that allowed him to come out ahead of Michael Schumacher after the second pit stop.
Well, you know, we say maybe there aren't the personalities around in Formula One that there were in the good old days. There's a personality, the emotion, the sheer joy of his result today. To win an Italian Grand Prix, I think, is always very special. One of the oldest Grand Prix in the calendar. It is a classic. Win at Monza, it is Monza magic.
And there is part of that magic, this big wide start-finish area, and the celebrations can really get underway as we take a look through the results, and another 1-2 for Ferrari. So Irvine taking 3rd place, Renault getting both cars there into the points, and also Olivier Panis scoring a point for BAR Honda. Only the 2nd time, of course, that he's been in the points so far this year. That's a welcome boost for the team. They'll be delighted with that. A lot of retirements from the race here today. Montoya, Raikkonen, Mark Webber sadly out as well. Felipe Massa after that rather silly incident with Pedro de la Rosa. Alan McNish retiring early, and Ralf Schumacher just a few laps into the race when he was leading. I wonder if we could have seen a different story if Ralf had continued to run.
Well, Eddie looking a little bit warmer than we see him on occasions, and well, he will no doubt be well and truly happy, I suspect, whatever party is going to take place tonight in Milan. And Herbie Blash, Deputy Race Director, saying, well done, Eddie. Eddie, a very popular character, sometimes aggressive, acerbic in his comments, but bright as a pin, one of the sharpest brains in the pit lane.
And he's with 2 former teammates there, of course. He drove years at Jordan with Barrichello, and then he drove for several years alongside Michael Schumacher at Ferrari.
And you can just see in the corner of that picture Eddie Irvine's mother, Kathleen, along with her husband, Edmund, to watch their son enjoy something they haven't seen for a very long time. Really, it was back in the late 90s when Eddie was the teammate to Michael Schumacher that he became a regular visitor to the podium. And Rory Byrne will represent Ferrari when it comes to the Manufacturers Award.
A moment to savour as they come out onto this new podium, which extends out over the start-finish straight. What a superb sight that is, and for the fans it really makes them feel close to the drivers as they come up to celebrate the 1, 2, 3.
Well, I think there are many things in Formula One that are mandatory. I think this is one that should be made mandatory at every circuit, to give the opportunity for fans to spill onto the track and to feel that they are in some part at least close to the drivers after they've enjoyed a Grand Prix this afternoon.
Well, what an opportunity for Rubens Barrichello to be the first driver to enjoy this new podium. And what an atmosphere there is down there on the start-finish area. Absolutely cram-packed with fans in delighted mood, having seen their Ferraris come through first and second here in the Italian Grand Prix.
And Rubens thoroughly delighted, and Rory Byrne picks up the award from Chris Gents, CEO of Vodafone. And Rory, not somebody who expresses very much emotion, but thoroughly delighted with today's work.
Yes, once again, testament to the ability of that Ferrari 2002 chassis. And Michael's wife, Corinna, here. She's not always at all of the Grand Prix now, but nice to see her supporting her man as Eddie receives his trophy for third place, and he really has a big smile about that one.
And a very well-earned prize it is. A good drive, a good weekend. Jaguar were strong all weekend. They had a very good test last week, and they came here feeling they had a chance to get in the points. They never dreamt they'd get in the points and get on the podium.
Well, it's just a wonderful opportunity, and such good news that we've seen another constructor up there. It's made quite a difference in the Constructors' Championship as well, as the champagne shower continues. And with that, Jaguar, of course, scoring some 4 points, and that's moving them well up the order.
Yes, it enables them to leapfrog ahead of BAR and Jordan. So significance of this is very considerable indeed. And also, you know, in life, timing is everything. This could not have come at a better time for Jaguar, with all the difficulties they've had to deal with throughout the year, to come strong here to Monza, get 4 points a podium, and Niki Lauda no doubt will go home tonight, wherever that may be, feeling a happy and a probably rather relieved team principal.
Yes, I'm sure. And the big bosses at Ford, who are due to announce how they're going to go forward with this project over the next few years, well, they've certainly got something to back up their investment now, with a good result in the Italian Grand Prix, beaten only by Ferrari. And that's quite an achievement when Ferrari's been beating everybody this year. For Jaguar to be best of the rest here, that is something that they can shout about with great justification.
And of course, with the next Grand Prix in the United States at Indianapolis, both these marques have got incredibly loyal members, owners, clubs, and with Porsche as well supporting the Grand Prix, you can imagine the amount of attention and the product that's going to turn up from those very lucky owners.
Oh, just listen to it. Soak up the atmosphere. Jubilant mood here at Monza, and Rubens Barrichello so delighted to have earned this victory. I'm sure that after the second pit stop they were basically told to hold station, but Barrichello had done enough to that point. Before that, I'm sure these guys were racing hard on different strategies, on different parts of the racetrack, but as it works out, Barrichello came out ahead.
Well, Rubens really, I mean, I think I haven't seen him happier probably since his first Grand Prix win in Germany 2 years ago. But there, an expression of a man who knows he's done a good day's work. Equal equipment at Ferrari. Rubens never believed that he could take on Michael possibly on a one-to-one, but since he's been at Ferrari, but particularly since the F2002 chassis came into play, that's worked more really to the advantage of Rubens than Michael. It's Michael who really has got the great skill to drive a difficult car more than Rubens.
And Eddie Irvine, yes, really over the moon with that, as he has every right to be. They're making their way to the press conference room, so we'll be hearing from them in just a few moments' time. So it's been a long time since Monaco last year. Feels like a while for Eddie Irvine, but he's back on the podium. And now we're going to get the chance to hear from those three very happy-looking drivers. That looks like a fun machine, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a scooter around a pair of rollerblades.
Yeah, so a good way of getting back into Milan, perhaps. But for the moment, let's now go and hear from Rubens Barrichello, Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine, the top three at Monza.
And it's welcome to the top three finishing drivers of the 2002 Italian Grand Prix. A great race. It's Rubens Barrichello, the winner, Michael Schumacher in second, and Eddie Irvine in third. Rubens, fantastic race, third victory of the year, but what was it like out there on that podium?
No, it was, Michael called my attention. I mean, it was such a feeling. I mean, I don't think we're going to ever experience something like that again. I mean, we were seeing people coming in, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, as far as my eyes could go, I saw just people, so it's amazing.
Getting back to the more mundane factor of the race itself, I mean, the key point for you is when you managed to get the lead when Ralf Schumacher had an engine problem. Can you talk us through that? Because it seemed that Juan Pablo was momentarily confused.
Well, to be honest with you, I was confused as well, because I didn't know what was happening, and I just saw a moment there, and all of a sudden I saw Ralf slowing down a little bit, and I dive on the inside, and I was able to get the slipstream of Montoya as well. So I had a perfect lap where, you know, I end up from third to first, and the car was getting better and better. So I was able to really push fast and have my race.
And the two-stop strategy appears to be in the way to go.
Well, I mean, fortunately, it is. We could say today that it was the way to go, and the car felt good. And I must thank everyone, especially the test team today, because we were here last week and we were able to really choose the right tires. And Bridgestone did a fantastic job to bring the right tires. And I have no words for them, because it was really the tire to have it. It was unbelievable. I mean, from the test last week to now, it was just a tire to have.
Thank you, Rubens. Michael, you may have been second today, but you seem to be enjoying even more out there on the podium than Rubens was.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, but anyway, I did enjoy, because I mean, it's the ideal result we dreamed of. I sort of didn't want to go that far and wish myself such a result, because we had so much luck this year and so many good results that I thought whatever comes is going to be fine. But this is obviously the dream result. If you, as you said, or we said before, to look out from the podium, it's all the way down the straight. I mean, and this is by far the longest straight. You see full of people, full of tifosi, and that's an amazing emotion. It went through me and Rubens, and we only can thank our guys out there who always support us, and hopefully we give something back today.
And obviously it wouldn't be a Grand Prix without you breaking a record, and this week you've broken the all-time points in the season record. You've raised that to 128, so you keep doing it.
Well, that was anyway my one before, so it's not such a big thing, especially after a year we had so far. It was more or less clear that we're going to break this one. And anyway, we had a dream result in the end of the day, first and second. What can we wish us more? And we just can be happy and proud of what we achieved this year and here in particular.
Thanks, Michael, and well done. Eddie, I mean, you got two grinning Cheshire Cats next to you, but you're probably the happiest guy of all. It's your first podium since Monaco and a real upturn in performance of the team.
Yeah, it's like Rory was saying, it must be great to be back, but to be on the podium again. But you can't, when you've been away for so long, you know, whenever I was at Ferrari, it was like podium. There's nothing like being away for a while to make you appreciate them, and especially here, you know, with the Italian crowd, it's incredible. And people keep asking me why I like to spend so much time in Italy. Well, I think if you look outside, you'll see the reason.
Now, before the race, you were very worried about brake wear during it. How did the actual car go during the laps?
Well, the first stint, I pushed like crazy. You know, I couldn't quite hold on to Raikkonen, but I was leaving everyone else quite easily behind. And then Raikkonen had his problems, so we decided to pit a bit early, just because there was no issues really. So. And then it was just a matter of going as slow as possible to get the finish in front of the guy. I think Trulli was pushing me there at the end, but I was just trying to back up as little as I could, just because the brakes were marginal. We think we'll know whenever we take the car apart and see how marginal they were. But the last part of the race was, you know, I was changing gear early and lifting off and cruising into the corners just to try and save everything, because it was just a matter of getting to the finish.
Eddie, thank you and well done. Rubens, third win this season, big party?
Well, I guess so. I mean, it's our home Grand Prix. Everyone is here. We have our two test drivers here. We have everyone here, so it's nice to be home, and it's nice to be able to just give it back to everyone that worked so hard for us to be here. So, as Michael said, we've couldn't ask for more. So tonight, I guess, is going to be a lot of party going on.
Gentlemen, thank you and well done. Now a word from Rubens and Michael in your own language, starting with Rubens.
Well, it's certainly a great achievement. Another Ferrari 1-2 here at Monza. They were very correct, of course, to bring up that atmosphere. It was astounding out there on the podium.
Yes, and I think the podium really just exemplifies what a crowd expects. And I mean, for once we're seeing a circuit giving back, and as the three drivers did on the podium, give back to the fans, the spectators. They come here, they spend hour upon hour to watch and support, and they're loyal. And this new podium really, I mean, the pit lane, sorry, the actual racetrack right now, it's still completely, you cannot see the racetrack for the fans that made their way there. And this is what, for me, Formula One is about. It is about emotion. It's about drivers that are human beings doing a job which they love above all other jobs in the world. It is the best job in the world to be a Grand Prix driver, believe me. To be on the podium, particularly a podium as unique as the one here in Monza, well, I can only imagine what Rubens, Michael and Eddie will think when they look back on it many, many years from now. When they have given up as drivers, they may still be involved in motor racing in whatever sense, as a team principal, as Niki Lauda is, as a journalist, as a broadcaster, as many of us have become, or just simply turning up occasionally to say hello to old friends. This is a special moment for all three of them.
Well, it certainly has been a great day for Ferrari once again, but for Jaguar as well, and for Renault. It's great to see some other constructors getting some good results after a season that has really seen Williams and McLaren tending to pick up the pieces behind Ferrari. An opportunity for another couple of teams to do so here today with that performance from Jaguar. Of course, for De La Rosa,